There's the one thing that I fall back on for the criticism of my own performance is there's a specific moment in that scene. The thought that Joel has is, this is what happens when you drop your guard. I allowed myself to trust. I allowed myself to love. I allowed myself to feel. I allowed myself to be safe. And this is what you get. It's a moment of regret. Even inside that moment, he goes, do it all over again. Because what I got was the girl. And the fact that that moment doesn't come through without a line of dialogue, moment of a look, if anything, falls on my failure to be able to present that moment. But rest assured, that moment is there for Joel.
How hard was it for all of you to act that out? And Neil, how hard was it to direct?
That was my least favorite day on the job, but also everything was working up to that moment. And I can't remember, I feel like that was kind of in the middle of the shoot. I don't know where it landed, but I was dreading it because, to jump off of what Troy was saying, I think I know people love these characters, and that's what makes this experience and everything here so special. But I assure you that no one is more protective of these characters than the three of us. And there were a lot of that was a tough day. It was a tough day because it felt like so much more than just doing an emotional scene. And it was these characters that we've lived with for so long, and everybody just brought it that day. I mean, it was intense.
Troy, for you, were there shades of that? I think, since obviously in the time we've had since The Last of Us Part 1, there's been so many podcasts, so many think pieces, so many behind the scenes, so many documentaries and stories, and you guys have told at Collins or anywhere else. But the amount of times I think we've all seen you in the ping pong ball suit, right? Holding Sarah and screaming, and you telling the story of how many times Neil, the monster, made you do it over and over and over again. Like,
that was not the monster. That was the merciful. He allowed me, indulged me. Somebody asked me the question. They said, how did you prepare for that scene? And I could tell them, oh, well, actor, you pull from the experiences that you have and all this. And we had years of talking and discussions and all that. And the truth is, there was no preparation for it. It was understanding the beats that needed to happen. It was understanding what the moment and the stakes. One thing that I wasn't prepared for was Ashley. And someone said, what place did you go to for that? And I was like, there was no exercise, there was no technique I needed to employ other than literally just to look at her. Because all I could think about in that moment was how hard this was for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want her to wanted to get it right because I didn't want it to be any harder for her than it had to be. And it was a hard scene because there's a lot of physicality to it. Being picked up and dragged and making, hitting up against that, and every once in a while your stupid helmet falls forward. It's like, I go again. And Cole is coming over and he's, trying to fix it and everything. And Manny, Alejandro, who I love, and I haven't seen him since Uncharted 4 is there, and like Chase Austin is there, and he's the young version of Sam, and I'm like reunited with all these friends, and Laura Bailey's there, and I'm like, fuck, man, I'm surrounded by all these friends, and Patrick, everybody is just making sure that I'm okay. And no one's checking on Ashley. And that, for some reason, just got me because, man, I'm sorry I'm trying to keep my shit together right now, but
I mean,
You're in a safe spot.
It's fine.
no, I know.
I'll buy you some time, Troy. Like the thing I tell people when we talk about this game, and I'm always asked, like, did you always know Joel was going to die? How'd you feel about it? It's like, I always tell people, it's like, motherfuckers, nobody loves this character more than me, except for maybe Troy Baker.
Ashley has experienced a tremendous amount of loss in her life. And I got the benefit of having that kind of loss hypothetically, Sarah. With Neil, it became a thought experiment. For me, it became a hypothetical. For Ashley, it was real. And to someone in that situation and say, hey, how about for shits and giggles, we reenact a traumatic loss in your life? Just felt so sorry for her. And that's what made me want to get it right the first time, because I didn't want her to have to go through that.
Oof. I do remember. It's funny because when I talk about that scene, there's a little bit of distance that I need to have with it because it's hard to talk about. But all I remember from that, it's funny. You get a scene like that as an actor, and like Troy said, there's only so much preparation that you can do, and sometimes you don't know what you're going to do on the day. You don't know how your voice is going to come out. You don't know what it in particular is going to affect you other than, your beats in the scene, like Troy said. But the biggest takeaway from me from that day and from that scene, the two of us locked eyes and there was no one else in the room. Oof. Because I care about Joel. I care about Ellie. And I did feel that from Troy and from Joel of being like, from the very end, he is there for her and saying, I've got you, baby girl. I know this is hard, but I'm here. And that scene is so hard, but I think it's when I finally watched it, I and this is where the everybody involved with putting that scene together outside of just us, they fucking nailed it. And I know a lot of people have a hard time with that scene and losing a character that we all love so much.
Good way.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. That scene fucking affects me a lot.
One of the things, just to go off on a tangent real quick, is